Hi, everyone, and welcome to Bookies TV for December. I'm Andrea Larson, and this is my colleague, Karen Varga.
Hello.
And we've got some December-themed books to suggest to you this month. We've got a couple of genres to talk about, romance, and then some mystery and thriller. So I'm just going to jump right in with my first book, and it is a romance. And one of the things that I like about romance series is that unlike other genres, you don't have to read romance series books in order. It's very, very handy. You can jump around. So my book is the fifth book in a series. It's called A Very Merry Bromance, and the author is Lyssa Kay Adams. So like I said, this is the fifth book in a series called the Bromance Book Club. And our romance collection manager, Erica, has been recommending this series for a while now. And I'm so glad I finally read one of them because it was great. Now, the premise behind the whole series is that there's this group of kind of alpha males in Nashville, and they have a secret romance book club. And in each story, the guys come together to help out one of their own with his romance troubles. So this time around, country music superstar and all-around fan of Christmas, Colton Wheeler, has a one-night stand with Christmas hater Gretchen Winthrop at a wedding. And afterward, he wants more, but she ghosts him. Their paths cross again about a year later as she faces pressure from her family to recruit Colton to be the face of their whiskey business. Can Colton win this Christmas-hating girl and get her to appreciate the holidays? So this book is sexy and funny with crisp dialogue and some great characters. I really enjoyed it, just flew right through it. I listened to the audiobook, and I definitely want to read more books in this series. Very worthwhile. So,
yeah. Sounds fantastic. I'm going to give a little change from that, if that's okay.
Sure, absolutely.
I did look for romances, but I think you got all the good ones for the Christmas season, and of course a lot of the good ones are checked out already.
So they go fast.
Yes. My first novel is December 41 by William Martin, and it's a well-orchestrated espionage thriller with plenty of action. The novel begins the day after the bombing of Pearl Harbor, and a German agent by the name of Martin Browning starts a mission to go and assassinate Franklin Delano Roosevelt at the tree lighting of the national tree on December 24th. Now, Browning recruits an unknowing, unemployed actress named Vivian Hopewell, and she's supposed to play his wife to help with his cover as he's traveling from Los Angeles to Washington. Now, hot on his trail is Frank Carter, who is an FBI agent, and he has recruited the help of a PI girlfriend by the name of Stella Madden. Now, there's one more main character that we can't skip here, and his name is Kevin Cusack. Now, he actually meets up with Browning on the train going to Washington, D.C. Now, Cusack used to be a Warner Brothers employee, and he worked in the story division. But also, he was a spy for, and I have to look at my paper, I'm sorry, the Los Angeles Jewish Community Committee. Now, he's decided that he no longer wants to do this spy work, and he's giving up on Warner Brothers because he hasn't been able to get promoted. But he ends up running into Browning and actually ends up getting framed for a murder by Browning. So now he's on the run and trying to catch Browning so that he can be cleared of this murder. So the favorite part of this book for me was actually the detailed setting. I love the fact that it took me into 1941 Hollywood. It included actors like Humphrey Bogart and John Wayne, and the guy was reading a script for what we know is going to become Casablanca. So I loved it. I really jumped into that. There was a ride on a Super Chief, which is a sleeper train. And the first page of this book really caught my attention. I loved the writing style and the image that it created. So I would recommend this, and I already have, to my husband and my son, because they love World War II fiction and the 1940s. But also I would recommend this to fans of Steve Berry.
Excellent. Oh, well, and I love Steve Berry and I love spy novels. So I think this one would be right up my alley. And it almost seems like it could be true. Like someone might have planned an assassination of FDR, you know?
Well, I did look in the back to make sure how much of this was true and how much of this wasn't. So I think this came from, I believe this was totally fictional.
Yeah, yeah.
Who knows? It could have happened.
Exactly. It's a fabulous premise though, right? Like trying to assassinate him at the national tree lighting. Oh my gosh, that's awesome. I love it. Okay, I really want to read. I really want to read that one. Oh, all right. You know, I don't read a ton of romance throughout the year. Christmas time is the one time of year where I prioritize romance in my reading queue. For some reason, I just love the holiday romances. I also like Hallmark Christmas movies, so I guess that all goes together. And that's sort of where this book comes in too. This second book that I'm going to talk about is called So This Is Christmas by Jenny Holiday. So first of all, a Christmas book written by an author whose last name is Holiday. I was like, okay, clearly I have to read this. And this book, like the other one I talked about, is also part of a series. And this series is called Princess for Christmas. Now, here's what the author says about this series. She says, "This is my Hallmark Christmas movie in book form, except with sex and swearing." Now, honestly, this particular book that I read, yeah, there was some sex in it, but there really wasn't a lot. And there wasn't a lot of swearing either. So, you know, lest that makes you think this is like super racy and, you know, vulgar or something. No, 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 it's not that at all. I would rate it as just moderately spicy. And the plot is that a management consultant named Kara travels from New York to the small European country of Aldovia to advise them on their watchmaking business. So when she arrives and she meets Matteo, the equerry to the king, it is hate at first sight, because Matteo, who's the king's right-hand person, thinks that she is coming in to do lots of layoffs and just, you know, kind of decimate their watchmaking industry. Plus, Kara isn't looking for a relationship. She is married to her job. However, it's a safe bet that these enemies are going to eventually become lovers in this book. I loved the European setting, which the author built up with great detail. And I'm also a sucker for that whole commoner falls in love with royalty trope. So if those things are your cup of tea, definitely pick up this Christmas romance.
You know, I have to say, that does sound like a lot of the rom-coms that I get attracted to during Christmas time. Sounds like a lot of them, and I am a bit of an addict to those. So I know I would enjoy that book.
Yeah, so, yeah, I think it is popular, that theme, you know, where the American woman goes to some glamorous place and meets a prince or someone in the royal family, and just, yeah. And it's like a fairy tale, right?
Very much so. Very much so.
Yeah.
Well, my next book is called The Railway Detective's Christmas Case, and it's by Edward Marston. And like yours, your first book, this is also a part of a series. It's a mystery series. But if you haven't read the first 19, that's okay, because I didn't either.
19. This is a long series.
Yes.
Awesome. That means it's got to be good. If it's been going on for this long, it's got to be good.
That's the way I kind of looked at it. I'm going to read to you what Time Out said about this. It said, it's a grand romp, very much in the tradition of Holmes and Watson, with characters Dickens would have been proud of. And I partially agree with this, but also I came up with a lot of other things that this reminded me of. This series actually reminds me of the popular Murdoch mysteries, and that's been around for 16 seasons.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So if you
We
have
love those.
yeah, if you've watched those, you'll understand what I'm talking about. Now, this book is set in 1864, and the Murdoch mysteries are in 1890s, so it's close. But the characters are just so similar. I couldn't help but place the people that I know from the Murdoch mysteries into their positions as I was reading it in my imagination. I do that sometimes.
Yeah.
So first of all, there's the perfect inspector, Robert Colbeck. You know, he always dresses so perfectly with a top hat, and he does everything with finesse and class. Then there's his charming sidekick, or I'm sorry, I said that backwards, his charming wife, who is Madeline Colbeck. So you get to see what's happening with his home life. And then there's his sidekick sergeant, Victor Leeming, who kind of adds to the comedy. And then he has a bullying ex-military superintendent called Edward Tallis. So these characters, I just really fell in love with them, and I enjoyed reading it partially for that reason. There is one character, however, in the story that does remind me of a Dickens character. And his name is Jerome Appleby. And he is an employer who believes in treating his employees to special excursions and making sure that they're happy, because he believes this is going to make their productivity so much better. So that reminds me a lot of the Christmas Party and A Christmas Carol, that kind employer who does so many wonderful things for his employees. So the mystery itself actually starts on one of these Christmas excursions that he has arranged for his employees and their family on a train going to Malvern Hills. Now the train is stopped with a roadblock, and one of his employees, who is not so friendly and warm, but is very cruel, he's a taskmaster, and he's very efficient. He gets out to see what has stopped the train, and he is shot. So that would be Cyril Hubbleday is murdered. And this causes Tallis, Colbeck, and Leeming to be called out by the haughty Lady Foley to solve this case. And so they're hoping that when they go out there that they'll be able to get it done before Christmas so they can spend the holiday with their family. Now, this was a very quick read. I think I read it in a couple days. There's plenty of action. I fell in love with the characters, as I've already told you. There's many suspects, so you don't really know who did it. You get an idea and you think it's one person, and then you think it's another person. And there's great detective work. And I have to say that I would recommend this once again to my husband, but also to fans of Maureen Jennings, who actually was the writer that the Murdoch mysteries were based upon, and Agatha Christie. The detective work and the way all the clues came together reminded me of Agatha Christie. So I love this book. I would actually go back and read more from the series.
That is great. Well, you know what? I am going to recommend this to my husband too, because like yours, he is a big fan of the Murdoch mysteries. He and my son actually have a tradition of just watching those together.
Wow.
So, yes. And so I have the theme music going through my head right now. So, awesome. Well, that sounds great. Well, thank you to everyone for tuning in for Bookies TV this month. If you want more reading suggestions, please just hop onto our website at cooklib.org/bookies, or stop by and see us anytime at the reference desk, because we're often there and we love to talk to you about books. So take care, everyone, and have a wonderful holiday season.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.